Asterisk, asterisk. Title: The Night in the Karaoke Bar. My Unforeseen Fate with My Daughter's Ex-Fiancé. When I opened the door to the karaoke bar, I froze. Sitting there all alone was my daughter's ex-fiancé, a former Marine with broad shoulders. Martina Vogler. He recognized me too, and his eyes widened. I felt as if my heart was dropping into an abyss. But what shook me even more was the silhouette of something immense visible beneath his trousers, impossible to miss. The biggest in the entire Navy. So it hadn't been a lie after all. Back then, I couldn't have dreamed of the decision I would make in that moment, as we, unable to utter a single word, just stared at each other in the cramped room of the karaoke bar, and how much my life would become entangled because of it. From that day on, my fate took a completely unforeseen turn. Now, I will tell you what happened after that encounter in the karaoke bar with my daughter's boyfriend. Before I begin, please subscribe to my channel and leave a like. It's completely free. My name is Martina Vogler. I turned 50 this year. My divorce was almost 7 years ago. My ex-husband was in business, but he went completely bankrupt. And afterwards, whenever he drank, he started to lay his hands on me. At first, I endured it. After all, I had once loved this man, and we had a daughter together. But one day, my Katha saw me with a bruise, started to cry, and said, "Mom, let's just live alone, the two of us." In that moment, I woke up as if from a trance and realized that things couldn't go on like this. After the divorce, peace returned to my life. I no longer had to flinch at night at the sound of the apartment door opening. But strangely enough, I felt even lonelier since then. Back then, I didn't know how desolate life in loneliness could be. I used to have a small clothing store, but I had to sell it to pay off my husband's debts. Now I work as a cashier at the local supermarket, a Netto. I work part-time, so the salary isn't much, but it's money I earn honestly, and that makes me feel good. My heart feels especially heavy in autumn. It happens. I watch the leaves falling outside, and tears well up in my eyes. To people, of course, I say with a smile, "Everything's fine. At our age, you're just a bit lonely. What can you do?" But I have my daughter, my Katha. My 26-year-old daughter is a private tutor. She is my whole life. I endure for her. I live each day to see her. But in recent months, I sometimes heard Katha crying at night under her blanket. It tore my heart apart. I just want to see my daughter smile. And thoughts crept into my mind, wondering if maybe it was because of me that she had no luck with men. One evening, Katha hesitated for a long time, then began cautiously. "Mom, we broke up, Jan and I." Jan Schneider, 30 years old, former Marine, broad-shouldered, tall and imposing. When he and Katha were together, he was often at our place. We had dinner together, and when I came home exhausted from work, he would say, "Martina Vogler, please let me do the dishes." And he helped me in the kitchen. Honestly, he was actually my favorite. I thought, what luck my daughter has with such a reliable man. And then they broke up. "You got along so well. Why did you break up? Did he cheat on you?" Katha was silent for a long time, then confessed with reddened eyes, "Mom, he's too big. Too big. There are things a person can endure, and things they cannot. It was said he was the biggest in the entire Navy. I just wasn't sure if my body could handle it." Seeing my daughter like that, not saying what she meant, I roughly understood what it was about. My face flushed. "Well, then it's better you broke up. Better than you suffering from it." Outwardly, I comforted my daughter, but inside me, a strange curiosity grew. How big was he? If he was the very biggest in the Navy, what dimensions must that be? What am I even thinking? I shook my head to banish these thoughts, but strangely enough, from then on, I thought of John more and more often. More precisely, my daughter's words that he was the biggest in the Navy wouldn't leave my head. A few weeks passed. One night my phone rang. It was my only younger sister, Helga. Helga is 5 years younger than me, but since childhood, people have said we are as alike as two peas in a pod. When my husband hit me and when I was struggling after the divorce, she was always there, supporting me. "Sister dear, you are not to blame. You also have a right to happiness." But that night, Helga's voice sounded different than usual. "Sister dear, forgive me, but can I ask you one last favor?" Things weren't going well at Helga's place either. Her husband's business had gone bankrupt. Debts had piled up. It got to the point where they couldn't even pay for their youngest hobbies anymore. That's why she was secretly working, without her family knowing, at a karaoke bar. Today, a regular customer, a hefty man, specifically requested me, but I have a bad cold. There's no way I can go out. We look so much alike. Couldn't you fill in for me? Just this once tonight? My head started spinning. Helga, who do you take me for? I would never do such a thing. I shouted and hung up. But after I hung up, her crying voice wouldn't leave my head. My sister, who always relied on me. My sister, who was persevering through an even harder situation than me. My heart clenched with sadness. About an hour passed. Finally, I took a deep breath and called Helga back. Just this once tonight, and never ask me for anything like this again. Understood? As instructed by Helga, I put on a red dress and put on heavy makeup, unlike anything I usually wore. When I looked in the mirror, I saw a stranger. Not bad for my age, I thought. I gathered all my courage and headed to the karaoke bar. My hands were shaking, my heart was racing. I didn't know what I was doing there or if it was right. The hallway of the karaoke bar was dark, and loud music and singing seeped from every room. In front of the door, Helga had told me. I hesitated for a long time. I reached for the handle several times and let go again. Finally, having mustered all my courage, I opened the door. At that same moment, I froze. There was only one person sitting in the room. It was Jan. Martina Vogler. Jan recognized me too, and his eyes widened. His hand holding the beer glass froze in midair. We were both speechless. An awkward silence fell. I quickly closed the door and entered. I couldn't just run away now. I sat down on the sofa but didn't know where to look, just fidgeted with my glass. Jan also sat with his head down. His face beat red. Finally, I was the first to speak. Jan, when you were with Katha, were you often here? Jan hastily waved his hand in dismissal. No, please don't think that. Really not. After the breakup with Katha, I drank every day, and friends advised me to come here to distract myself. It's my first time here. And then he said something unexpected. Actually, the other day when I had requested a companion, a woman came in who looked so much like you. Since then, her face hasn't left my mind. And I came again today, hoping maybe to see her again. My heart skipped a beat. That woman was my sister Helga, who is the spitting image of me. Jan continued. He seemed to have had a few drinks and was more talkative than usual. Strange, isn't it? To be honest, I actually liked you better than Katha. Right from the first meeting. Every time I came to Katha's house, there was always a place in a corner of my heart for you. I'm sorry for Katha, but I couldn't help my feelings. I couldn't believe my ears. What was this boy, 20 years younger than me, saying? Jan, you're probably drunk. Don't say things like that. No, I'm not drunk. I was in the Marines. Even after a bottle of vodka, I don't get drunk. I'm serious. Jan looked me straight in the eyes. His gaze was so earnest that I involuntarily couldn't look away. In the cramped room of the karaoke bar, a strange atmosphere developed. We drank another beer, and Jan put on music. It was a slow ballad. Imperceptibly, the distance between us grew closer and closer. This isn't right, I whispered, but Jan was already holding my hand. His palm was hot as fire, and he kissed me. Gently at first, then more and more demandingly. When Jan embraced me, I was overwhelmed. Through his trousers, I felt his incredibly massive, hard masculinity. My daughter's words hadn't been a lie. No, it was much bigger than I could ever have imagined. Can a person have something like that? Flashed through my mind. What will happen if we sleep together? That night, we didn't cross the line, but both our hearts were already wildly agitated. The next day, I got a message from Jan. Martina Vogler, forgive me for yesterday. I was drunk, but my feelings were sincere. I thought for a long time about whether to reply. In the end, I didn't answer. I knew it wasn't meant to be. A week passed, but strangely, I couldn't stop thinking about Jan. Whether at work in the supermarket or at home in front of the TV, the memory of that night would suddenly appear. Finally, I wrote to him myself. Jan, how are you? Maybe we could meet for coffee? An hour later, we met in a quiet cafe far away from our neighborhood. We had to avoid curious glances. Martina Vogler, well, I don't know how to address you. Just call me Martina. Use the informal do. All right, Martina. The conversation started awkwardly but became more natural over time. We talked about John's childhood, his time in the Marines, where he was known for his size, and about my youth. That's how our first meeting ended, and a few days later, Jan drove with me far out of town, to a river. No one knows us here. As we walked along the bank, Jan carefully took my hand. At first, I was startled and wanted to pull it back, but then I allowed it. His hand was warm. Martina, what do you actually like? I don't even know. Lately, I've just been living day by day. No, that can't be. There must be something you wanted to do in your youth, or would like to do now. I thought for a long time and then replied, go to the movies. When I was married to my husband, I hardly ever went to the cinema. He always said we didn't have the money for it. Then let's go to the movies, Jan said happily. And next time, we drove to a small cinema on the outskirts of town. Jan held my hand throughout the whole movie, in the dark, where no one knew us. That night when I got home, I was so excited I couldn't sleep for a long time. I didn't know if it was right, but it was a long-forgotten feeling of my heart fluttering. So we met secretly once or twice a week in cafes, by the river, in the park. We always had to drive far away so no one would see us. But that had its charm too. Sometimes Jan would wait for me at a distance after work and pick me up in his car. Martina, are you tired today? Yes, it was especially busy. Then let's go eat something delicious. Jan took me to a remote restaurant at the foot of the mountains. We had dinner there and then talked for a long time in the car. Once Jan unexpectedly showed up with a bouquet of flowers. What's this? I just wanted to give them to you. They were red roses, flowers I had never received from my husband in my entire life. Tears came to my eyes. Why are you crying? From joy or sorrow? From joy, you idiot! Jan hugged me tightly, right there in the car, in an empty parking lot. About another month passed. It was the weekend. Katha said she was going to a weekend house with friends for 2 days, including an overnight stay. Mom, I'll be back late tomorrow evening, but one friend isn't feeling well, so we might come back earlier. Anyway, I'll call. With Katha gone and me sitting alone in the living room, a wave of loneliness suddenly washed over me. In that moment, I already had the phone in my hand. Jan, the lamp in my living room is broken. Could you come by if you have time? After sending the message, I looked at the ceiling. The lamp was shining perfectly fine. I had to laugh at myself. About an hour later, John arrived with a toolbox. Martina, where is it broken? Over there in the living room. Jan got a chair and climbed up. He examined the lamp on the ceiling and snorted in confusion. Strange, it's perfectly fine. Yeah, but a little while ago, it was flickering. Jan got down from the chair and wiped the sweat from his brow. The defined muscles on his arms, his broad shoulders, and the distinct, even through his trousers, unmistakable silhouette of something immense. I tried to look away, but my gaze kept returning there. Martina, Jan called to me. I turned and saw him looking directly into my eyes. How long did we stand there like that? Silent, staring at each other? Jan took a step towards me, then another. I can't wait any longer. My hand was already clutching his shirt collar. We began kissing roughly and passionately. We fell onto the sofa, clothes flying to the floor. Our breathing grew heavier and heavier. Jan's hands explored my body, and I pulled him closer to me. We were about to cross the line. Reason had completely switched off. And right at that moment, beep, beep, the sound of the door lock opening. We jerked apart in horror. Mom, my friend suddenly felt really bad, so we're on our way back. The door swung open, and Katha entered. Time seemed to stand still. The clothes scattered on the floor, me and Jan, hastily pulling apart, faces bright red, on the sofa. Katha's expression contorted instantly. What is this, Katha? I'm asking you what this is. Mom, are you out of your mind? Katha screamed. Then she grabbed a glass of water from the table and threw it to the floor. With her daughter's ex-boyfriend. And then right in our own home. Mom, are you even human? Katha, wait, listen to me. I don't want to hear anything. Disgusting. Jan stared at the wall, his head down. I couldn't utter a word. I had nothing to say in my defense. Katha ran crying into her room. The sound of the slamming door echoed through the entire apartment. Jan rose quietly. Martina, I'm sorry, I'd better go. He left and I stayed sitting on the floor, crying long and bitterly. From the next day on, Katha didn't speak to me. She didn't eat anything I cooked, left the house in the morning without deigning to give me a glance. A few days later, rumors started circulating in the neighborhood. It's that Martina Vogler. She got involved with her daughter's ex-boyfriend. My God, how can you? He's 20 years younger than her. I heard it all. Even if I didn't want to, I heard it. Jan called me. Martina, I'll talk to Katha and apologize. It's my fault. No, don't come. You'd only hurt her more. But Jan, we'd better have no more contact. Otherwise, we'll all go under. You, me, and Katha. I hung up. My heart was breaking, but I knew it was the right thing. A few months passed. I took on more shifts at the supermarket. At home, only Katha's cold stare awaited me. When I came home from work, I just stared blankly at the TV until I fell asleep. I heard Jan wasn't doing well either. He had taken a job in construction, unloading trucks. His body had become even more muscular, but his face, they said, was always gloomy. One day, I went to the weekly market to shop, and at the vegetable stand, I ran into Jan. He saw me too. For a moment, our eyes met. I wanted to just walk past, but Jan approached me first. Martina, wait a moment. He suggested going somewhere quiet and took me to a small cafe nearby. Jan was silent for a long time, then began to speak cautiously. I've regretted what happened every day. I wasn't sure myself whether it was just strange desire or real love. He toyed with his coffee cup and continued. But over time, strangely enough, I couldn't remember any other face. In my head, there was only you, Martina. Your voice, your smile, all our conversations, everything. I didn't know what to say. I know we are guilty before Katha, before the neighbors. But could we try again? Slowly, really seriously. If you think of me even just a little bit. I sat in silence for a long time. The coffee grew cold, and I too decided to be honest. Jan, I don't know. Not a day went by that I didn't think of you. But was it because of the momentary attraction, or do I really love you? Maybe we should test it again, slowly and carefully. And what about the people? Katha? I know, I'm scared too. But living without you, Martina, scares me even more. Jan's gaze was serious. This wasn't a joke, and I realized it wasn't just about loneliness. Despite the age difference and the judgment of others, I like this young man. Give me time, a little. Jan nodded. About a week passed. A message came from John. Martina, maybe we could go for just one day where no one knows us and find out what we really feel for each other. I thought for a long time, knew it wasn't right, but a part of me wanted to see John again. That evening, I spoke cautiously with Katha. Katha, I'd like to go to the sea for the weekend. Katha looked up. Her gaze was cold. I've kept it from you because I was afraid of your reaction, but I want to meet John one last time and find out what really is between us. Mom, have you completely lost your mind? No, I'm serious. I want to go and clarify whether it's right or not. Katha was silent for a long time, then said quietly, Mom, when you come back, I hope you choose what you will regret the least. Just don't forget me completely. Tears came to my eyes, but I held them back. Thank you. So Jan and I drove to a small holiday apartment on the Baltic Sea coast, near Timmendorfer Strand. In the car, we hardly spoke to each other. It was both strange and exciting. When we arrived at the accommodation and unpacked, we walked along the beach. A sea breeze blew. The waves rustled. Martina, do you know what I felt when I first saw you? When I first came to Katha's house? What? I thought a person like that can exist. Even when things are hard, she smiles, does everything for her daughter. But sometimes there was such a longing in her eyes, and that always touched me. John took my hand. You were lonely too, weren't you, Martina? Yes, I replied honestly. I was lonely too. After the divorce, I wouldn't have thought being alone could be so desolate. Even with my daughter by my side, it was sometimes. You lie alone at night and cry. Jan hugged me tightly. You're not alone anymore. At those words, all the feelings I had suppressed for so long burst out of me. I cried in his arms for a long time. Night fell. In the room, only the sound of the waves and our soft breathing could be heard. Jan gently stroked my cheek. Martina, I love you, truly. And I love you, Jan. That night, we held each other for the first time like true lovers. We spent the night together in one bed and assured ourselves of the ardent sincerity of our feelings. We shared the feeling of fulfillment that comes when long loneliness recedes and you feel truly loved for the first time. Morning came, the sun was shining outside, the sea glittered. Jan was still asleep, and I sat by the window looking at the water. Whether I can walk the rest of my life with this person, or whether this day will remain just a memory where we assuaged each other's loneliness, I don't know the answer yet. I think of Katha. I'm afraid of the neighbor's judgment, and the 20-year age difference also weighs on me. But one thing I know for sure, by this person's side, my heart beats. It's amazing that even at 50, the heart can still flutter like this. Jan woke up and came to me. What are you thinking about? About what will become of us? I don't know, but I regret nothing. Jan pressed my hand firmly. Me neither. We walked slowly along the beach, holding hands tightly. Friends, it turns out that the love that makes your heart flutter doesn't disappear with age. You just have to think once more about what wounds and what responsibility this love can bring to the people who are dear to you. Because relationships that began to assuage loneliness can leave deep scars in someone's heart. That's precisely why an honest conversation and the right choice are so important. What choice should I make now? What would you do in my place? Would you accept this man 20 years younger, my daughter's ex-fiancé, who claims to be fighting sincerely for me? Or end this love here and now? Please leave your opinion in the comments. I want to listen to every single one. Thanks for watching.